The Lange one is sort of it needs an iteration every year. Frank,
Excellent.
welcome.
Thank you very much.
Just
Wilhelm.
arrived from the Netherlands.
Yes, fresh from the airplane.
I'm glad you're here. It's a time of the
Definitely.
year when we all get a bit excited.
Yeah.
We just chatted. I think it's your 20th this year.
No, not yet. It's 20 years monochrome,
Okay.
but I think it's my 12th
Watches and Wonders.
Watches and Wonders / SESH before.
It's actually my 16th. And you know what is, even after all these years, it's that special moment, which I really love. It's the moment where, you work in the dark, you don't share your secrets with anybody, and then very suddenly comes in this April, and here are the new watches, and you see excitement, hopefully, and you can talk about watches and what the industry does and how we do, and so on and so forth. That's the best part of the year.
It's definitely very good. I mean, I think I speak on behalf of my entire team. When we arrive, we're half dead, honestly. Yeah. We prepared so many articles and videos in advance to the fair, and we've seen most of the novelties already. So yes, we're half dead. And on Tuesday, the actual show starts, and that's so much fun because then you start seeing all the people whom you've been in touch for so many years. Old friends, new friends, but it's always very good to talk watches, to talk the industry, and very pleasant.
And there is that moment, and I see that also when I travel. It's one thing to get the press release. It's another thing to get even good photos of a watch. But I think there is no substitute for grabbing the watch for the first time.
Exactly.
Feeling the weight, seeing the dimensions, put it around your wrist.
That is so important.
And I think there is, and specifically when it's a brand new watch, to see people trying it for the first time, for me, it's always quite exciting because you see in their eyes, it's, oh yes.
That was one of the surprises for me last year when you had the 1815 in 34 millimeter.
Yes.
And based on the specs, I was like, might be a little bit too small because I own a 36 and a 37 millimeter 1815, and they were just perfect, really good wrist presence. So I was afraid it would be a little bit too small. Putting it on the wrist, no comments. Honestly, it was awesome.
Look, Frank, I can share with you that was a watch that was supposed to be available in every boutique. It was meant to be a core product.
Yeah.
And I was a little concerned in the beginning, with a minute repeater perpetual and a honey gold Odysseus. I was worried that this watch might not get enough spotlight. And wrong I was. Obviously, a lot of people loved it. And a lot more people loved it than we were able to produce watches. So as we talk, you can hardly find any of the 1815 in any of our boutiques, which is a luxurious problem and a nice problem to have. Still, it just tells you, if you have the right watch at the right time, in line with your DNA, the market is still very appreciative of this.
Absolutely.
So let's see who and 34, it's again, we came up with the annual SAXONIA annual calendar, 36 millimeter.
36 millimeter.
But again,
Brilliant.
I think the natural habitat of a wristwatch is
I'm going to give it a try.
the wrist, exactly. And I think, that's the moment where you get an idea about the watch. What I like as well, intuitively, you grab the white gold. That's also my favorite of the two.
Yeah. I prefer white metals on my wrist.
Me too. I like honey gold.
I like gold color, but for me, I prefer the more understated white metals. This is stunning. Absolutely beautiful. Exactly what you want from it.
It's clear. And if you look at the small indices, for example, we ever so slightly change them, so they're a little rounder.
Yeah.
But again, all detailed work, but how important it is for the overall appearance of a design to work on these tiny little details, because they eventually, the sum of all these tiny little details, they will make a watch very attractive, or the opposite.
That's the make or break.
Absolutely.
Definitely, yeah.
Absolutely.
That's why you want to feel a watch also on the wrist. But this looks good in terms of details. There's on the on those stick markers, there's a little,
Exactly.
like something elevated towards the end.
That's the idea.
It gives a little bit of a shine. It's nice. And
The
so- those are
outside date
beautiful.
even looks bigger on a small watch
Yeah.
than on normal ones. But, you know, at my age, I shouldn't say that, but I'm, you know, funny enough, I need the date more than once a day, and I know it doesn't change throughout the day. But whenever I do my signatures, and I have to use it, I always look, you know, what is the date? And if I have no glasses, I can't read most dates. This one, no problem.
But one way or another, you know, plus, you know, design-wise, it looks very good. I love this big date.
Very much a Lange Söhne.
That's also one of the things that, to me, always makes a brand strong. If you're very consistent in your design language, there's not many brands who really fully understand it or at least practice it.
The biggest argument for the Odysseus family was that we have a new design playground.
Yeah.
And we can use that without diluting the design playground of all the other 5 traditional families. It would have been easy to produce a steel watch in each family. I'm sure it would have sold.
Yes.
But it would have been dilutive in the long run. Now we are strict on these ones, and the Odysseus will give us the playground to try titanium, to go for a full bracelet watch like we did last year with the honey gold. So that's what I like. And now we really have, for very traditional, very contemporary, for more sporty, we can play it all without losing our Lange Söhne.
Yeah, well, the identity is very clear already since the beginning, but also nice that you mentioned the Odysseus. That was such a beautiful watch and is such a beautiful watch, and still is very much Lange Söhne.
It has to be, huh?
And it has to be indeed. But then again, you know, coming back to that consistency in design language, the certain elements that you always see back and immediately say, that's Lange.
Yeah.
And I think even with the Odysseus, while it was entirely different from the rest of the collection, you immediately spot that it's a Lange. That's very strong. That's really good.
That's why it took so long to come up with.
I can imagine.
I believe that the hardest challenge for Tony and the team in development is to push boundaries, because you have to push. You know, you cannot just repeat yourself endlessly and hope that's going to work, because it will not. But you can also not lose yourself by doing things that are absolutely not you and believe you get away with it. Yeah. You have to find that ground that is permanent improvement, you know, permanent pushing boundaries, but still very clearly recognized as that's Lange Söhne.
I mean, and there's many, you know, I mean, let's be honest, there's only a few brands where you immediately know which brand it is. And I think that those are very strong brands and have that much history in and that much consistency in that design language that makes it into icons. You don't grow an icon in just a year. And
no. And you don't do it yourself. You know, we don't talk about icons if we talk about our own products. We stay away from it, which actually brings us to the big watch this year. Somebody earlier said it's the ultimate Lange one,
it is.
The perpetual tourbillon Lumen. It's so different from the watch we launched in 2013. It's a different movement.
Why is it different, Wilhelm?
In many regards, let's start with the most obvious. You will not find a day-night indication on this one, because the moon phase is the day-night indication. The sky is light
versus the sky is dark. Yeah.
So if it's day, you know it's 12 o'clock lunchtime, and if it's dark, you know it's 12 o'clock midnight. You don't need a day-night indication if you have that moon phase indication. So that's the one giveaway, which the original one didn't have. It had a day-night indication. Then, of course, we learned a lot in the last, 14 years? 13 years. We launched in 2013.
13 years.
Yeah.
Is that long ago?
Yes. Yes. Fortunately. It just tells us how long we are around.
Exactly.
And what is I think it's this time the most discreet iteration of the Lumen watches that we built so far, at least throughout the day. You know what is a huge challenge? Talking about integrity of design. You know, we have these very delicate Roman numerals on the dial, showing the hours and the minutes. If you try to luminize them, they get big, which we didn't want. So what we did here is we actually put luminous underneath. So you will not see the numerals shining, you will actually see
just a bit around the periphery.
Exactly, the same with the moon phase. Not the moon shining, but there is underneath the shine, which then shines through the moon. So it's very delicate. It's a mix of, where we use luminous like we always use on the day, but not on the numbers on the dial and not on the moon phase.
That's lovely detail.
It's as I said, it's all about details.
It's so beautiful.
And discreet, it's the most. And again, if you think about, we talked about integrity of design. Nothing is more challenging for a designer than to develop a strong face. I think watches have a face.
Yes.
So develop it without diluting it. That watch, you can clearly see it's a Lange one, like this one, you don't need to, it's a Lange one, booms. You know what it is, huh?
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think it's a great achievement of the designer to develop the design without breaking the design code.
Totally. That has always been a bit the case with the Lumen variations. It started 2010?
2010 with the then called back Zeitwerk Luminous.
Was that with the Zeitwerk?
Zeitwerk. That was
the first one?
Yeah. Into, I think...
and then later came the Lange one and the Grand Lange one.
Grand Lange one moon phase, the Zeitwerk with honey gold, the datograph up and down.
Yes.
The datograph up and down perpetual lumen.
Those were beautiful. Oh my goodness.
That's it. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, so every few years you come with something.
There's no rhythm because we try to be a bit unpredictable. So you never know what is next.
I think you did a great job with this one.
Tony actually and the team, because I'm just the happy man that's prepared to wear it, but and
you're allowed.
Give that to the team. They are really doing a great job.
No, of course we know Tony for doing a great job at Lange Söhne.
You see the rotor they have changed. If you look around, it's now a white gold.
Yes.
With a rotor with a platinum weight on top of it. Did you see the stars on the balance?
Yes.
Cock? So even tiny little things like this, they have changed.
So that takes it away from the other hand engraving and brings it to something more in line with the perpetual calendar.
I can see it in your face.
Yeah,
it makes
definitely.
me smiling as well.
Big time. Will this be limited?
Yes, that's 50. That's unlimited.
Okay.
So that'll be core collection.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure. Like the last time, we launched the SAXONIA annual calendar in 2010. And it was in production, I think, until about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Then we stopped. So the only annual calendar we still had in the current collection is the 1850, which is a manual wind watch. No, that's the first automatic annual calendar we launched in a long time.
Entirely new build movements?
They are both completely new. They have not a lot in common with, that, of course, we don't have a movement that would have been able to bring it to 36 millimeters. And this one is more than just a new development. It's just, we took the base and then we optimized it basically everywhere.
How is it for Lange Söhne to have a few super strong collections like the Lange one, like the 1815 collection, like the SAXONIA collection? How is it for you to maneuver within those collections, coming with new watches that are still very much Lange Söhne?
Yeah, it's like a matrix. On the one hand, you have the different segments of the market, which we try to please every year. From high collectors like this, 50 watches, to last year the 1815 34 millimeter, or this year this. That's still an expensive watch, but of course it is a lot more affordable than the Lange one perpetual Lumen.
Yes.
So that's the idea. So you have the segments, and then we try to give iterations into each family at least every 24 months. With one exception, there's a single year where we do not play anything around the Lange one.
Is it still hot cake in the boutiques.
We run out of pink gold Lange ones, believe it or not. I was also shouting at the team. I said, guys, how can that happen? But it did happen, and it does happen regularly.
So that means despite the relatively quietness around the brand, because Lange Söhne does not communicate as much as some of the other brands do. And I'm looking, of course, at the entire field of watch brands, the entire market. And Lange Söhne is very discreet, very quiet always, still selling out the Lange one.
It's, if you sell 4,000 to 5,000 watches a year, that's what we sell and produce. If one of the main reason that a lot of our clients enjoy is the subtleness and the discreetness, then of course you mustn't shout loudly, because then you sort of do the opposite of what your clients want from you. It's always interesting on international events, Frank. So we invite our customers from all around the world, and usually these are big collectors, which means they somehow were not too unsuccessful in their life. You bring them in one room, and I think we all know that sometimes big success goes with big egos. Yeah. It is amazing for me today to see how easily these people interact, because they share something like our Lange Söhne. And I know a big and successful businessman that always looks at the wrist of the guys he's talking to, and to some extent evaluates the character by what he or she is wearing.
Somehow does play a role, indeed. But then again, I think wearing a Lange Söhne also says a lot about who you are as a person. Even, and it's not just, I don't know if that goes for every Lange Söhne piece on the wrist. Of course, there's a few that are a bit bigger, more expensive, and maybe a little bit more outgoing, but it still remains
generally
very
speaking,
in general,
I mean, even if we take I would say, most contemporary looking design at Zeitwerk, because we produce so few. It's not like, people look at it and know immediately what it is, unless they're into watches, unless they're like, the higher end of watches. But again, if somebody's sharing that passion, you can so much easier start a conversation, because then that's, that I understand.
It's funny, people really relate over watches.
Absolutely.
And especially at a certain level, business room, definitely, yeah. And that's, do you get that also as feedback from customers?
Often.
Yeah.
As I said, I know customers that said, whenever I see somebody that's also wearing a Lange, very easy to connect. Very easy because you have a common ground.
Exactly.
You share some values.
I mean,
otherwise you wouldn't spend that much money on a watch that you cannot use to impress others, because most people wouldn't know what it is.
Exactly. It's not big gold diamonds, etc.
It's not even a big name.
No. Oh, with 5,000 watches a year, indeed.
It will take a long time before the world knows who we are.
Oh, that's good. I mean,
again, that's part of the secret, I would say.
I think so, yeah. And I think that's also part of the success for those in the know and those who understand the beauty and the discretion of a brand like Lange Söhne.
That's why I believe communication, if you go to the boutique, the treatment you get by the boutique, any interaction with us should be in line with the values that we put into our watches. Only if that is consistent, coherent, and then you will nurture the culture that Lange and Blümlein created, and that will help the brand to steer through the ups and downs of the market and the world, and stay true to themselves. So that I think is a very important factor.
A question also about the rose gold. That's very much a beloved color combination from Lange Söhne.
It's a lot of customers just love the grey dial. I mean, grey is with us since, I think, 2004 or so.
Okay.
It was one of the first color iterations, You talk about
Oh
color,
my- oh my
and
goodness.
Lange Söhne doesn't.
The
it's
Germans
not
go
a-
wild. Do gray instead of white and black. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it's not white, it's not black, it's not blue, it's gray.
Yeah.
Oh la la. So no, but obviously it's a very appealing combination. And I think here the outside date even sticks more out. So it's even more legible
Yeah.
than on this very clear white Rodier dial.
But I also love the tone of gray. It's very soft, very
It's always
subtle.
the same. Huh?
Yeah.
We have one, yeah, it's always the same. Sometimes
So you bought one jar of paint and you stuck to that?
basically you have a color code, and that is exactly what we use. Sometimes it appears different because if the surface is different,
Okay.
the color may look different, but it's always the same color code.
And I think the gray dial is always in a rose gold case. Or not?
No, we also
there
have
is
white
Lange
gold.
one in white
Exactly,
gold. Yes.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly,
indeed.
exactly.
Yeah. Which was a very beautiful one.
I know, it's very collectible. Not many have been built.
It's a very beautiful one. And I really like this gray dial. It's so nice.
It's a good everyday watch. You know, you can wear it with a pair of jeans, you can wear it with a suit, you can wear it if you go out at night, you can wear it if you go to the pub and have a drink. I think that's a great everyday watch.
I can vouch for that.
You know.
I mean, I was wearing when I bought 1815 hand mount. I had the old one, rose gold,
Yes.
36 millimeter. I was wearing it with jeans and a t-shirt, you know, and people know, you know, it doesn't look
No,
out
it
of
doesn't look
place.
odd.
And you
No.
can wear it with a suit, you can wear it with anything, and that's something that
Which
I
is
really
important,
like.
you know, because people today don't want to go every now and then to the safe and get another watch for,
Exactly.
you know, you have to have a watch that, you know, is good for almost every occasion.
I prefer to wear my watches, you know, like a week, you know, before I go to the vault and exchange something again.
same
Because
here.
it always takes
Same here.
some time, you know.
Yeah.
It's, you often don't want to make
Often
the
they
time
rip
for
it
that.
away from my wrist and give me another watch. So also hard. But I'm not complaining.
I'm not one of the 50. I couldn't even afford it. But
This
that
one.
is so nice.
Yeah.
Absolutely the stunner.
Yeah.
Size is perfect. The dial looks very good. Automatic
proportions.
movement now. I mean, to me, absolutely awesome.
Wonderful. Well, Frank,
Thank you very much.
as
It
always,
was
thank you. Thank
good
you.
fun.